Hello, and welcome to another Triad Golf Podcast. I'm John Brasier, the publisher of Triad Golf Magazine, and we're lucky today to have the new executive director of the Carolinas Golf Association, Andy Priest, with us. Just back from watching the Augusta National Women's Amateur, and I think working. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Andy?
Yeah, hey John, thank you for having me on today. Yes, been very fortunate. I've gotten the opportunity to officiate all six of the past Augusta National Women's Amateur events, and actually kind of help on the front end, do a little setup work, course marking at Champions Retreat. So we kind of are part of the advanced team that get in there and get things ready to go when the rest of the rules committee shows up before the players all get to Champions Retreat. So yeah, we had a great week. We got through a little bit of weather early on, but as far as the tournament days went, we had great scoring conditions, as you saw with the scores. Just shows how good these players are at the elite women's game level that I think one under par was the cut this year, and so it was a stacked leaderboard heading over to Augusta National on Saturday for the final round, and hopefully a lot of the folks listening to this and watching it followed along and watched it as well. And it's just Augusta National is just the greatest place on earth, and to have to be a play a very small part in that is pretty awesome.
Well, I talked to Macy Pate, who's from Winston-Salem here, and she
Hmm.
participated in the first two rounds. And I asked her about her entourage that she was able to bring. And I'm curious about that because, we didn't used to have this tournament. And, everything would start fresh at Augusta on Sunday or Monday before the tournament. How many folks did they let out there? I mean, I'm just wondering how it affects what the grounds look like for the beginning of Masters Week.
Well, thankfully it was dry,
Mm-hmm.
so it didn't affect. We'll never know how many patrons were really out there. They don't release that. They don't even tell us. We have no idea how many folks are out there. But it's certainly a sizable crowd. You just look at the merchandise, at the line at the merchandise pavilion. It was backed up to the gate from what I heard, and
Yeah.
it's a great day. If you can get a ticket to Saturday at ANWA, it's not as many. Most of the facilities are open. It's
Mm-hmm.
almost a little bit of a, in my opinion, a little bit of a dress rehearsal for Masters Week. They can use that Saturday. There's not as many people. Um, they can identify pressure points, whether it's with parking and traffic, trying to address those before Masters gets going, or just even internal operations about the merchandise, or how they service all the concession areas. But it's they have it pretty dialed in over there. And so they just do. To me, it's the greatest sporting event in the world. Um, so you just can't say enough good things. So if you get a chance to go on Saturday of ANWA, I think it's nothing against the Masters. That's If you get any tickets to go, please go. But if you're looking to experience Augusta National, where it's not as full, and see some great golf as well, it's pretty quick. It's only 30. We had 32 players make the cut, and it's only 2.5 hours of tee time. So I mean, the play is pretty quick, and last first tee time was 7:50, and I think we're handing out the trophy. Chairman Ridley is, I think we're on the putting green at about 2:30 in the afternoon doing the award ceremony. So it's a pretty compact day, but it's certainly worth putting yourself in the lottery for.
Yeah, well, I noticed one thing. I didn't get to see it on television. I'm guessing it was on television. I saw only the end, but a Wake Forest player, uh, Lopez Chikara, made a eagle on 15,
Hmm.
which I thought was pretty incredible. I didn't get to see her shot. I don't know what kind of putt she had, but an eagle on 15's a good story to tell.
That's a great memory, and not very many people make 3 on 15, no matter who you are. So it's
Right, right.
that's quite a memory for her, and she had a great week as well. Obviously, Wake Forest was well represented in the tournament.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, Andy. You were with the Carolinas Golf Association before. I think you started as an intern, and
Hmm.
you spent the last 8.5 years at the Alabama Golf Association.
Hmm.
And I think what you started at the beginning of this year replaced Jack Nance, correct?
That's correct. I say I'm the new old guy at the CGA. This is my third and hopefully final stint here. I started as an intern in 1997, so I'm going to date myself here a little bit. Um, Worked in junior golf for 2.5 years, and then got the opportunity to come back full time at the CGA in 2000. Worked Wore many different hats through my nearly 16 years here. You know, but then the opportunity to uh, lead the Alabama Golf Association and also the Southern Golf Association was kind of the next step in my career. I'd kind of gone as far as I could here at the CGA, and that's really, Jack wasn't going to retire, so this is 2015 we're talking about. Jack, knew retirement was at some point, but it wasn't in the immediate future, so it was a hard decision to leave home here in the Carolinas because I'm a native of Raleigh, and so North Carolina is truly home. But going to Alabama was a life-changing experience for me and my wife, and I can't say enough great things about um, the people in Alabama, not only at the association level, but just in general. We had an awesome 9 years there. Lived in the middle of SEC country. It didn't quite get pushed into the corner to pick Alabama or Auburn. As a fan base, I think there's a 10-year statute of limitations, so I got out just before I had to declare a uh,
Yeah.
a loyalty to one of those two schools. I kept saying, look, I'm an ACC guy at heart, and they kind of laughed at me about that in the middle of SEC country. But truly, it was I had a remarkable team staff down there, hardworking. Um, Left it better than I found it, and that's all anybody could ever want. In when you spend some time at an organization, and have an opportunity to come back here to the CGA is really was my goal professionally. I've gotten to do a lot of great things in my career, and very blessed and fortunate, but to lead this organization is what I worked 28 years towards, and just can't say enough uh, thank yous to our leadership here at the CGA for believing in me and giving me this opportunity. They certainly didn't just call me up and say, "Hey, Andy, you want the job?" It was a 3 month vetting process through Corn Ferry. So they rightfully so, hired a recruiting firm to kind of go through the process, and thankfully, I was the last man standing. So I can't thank them enough, but I appreciate the process, and I knew leaving here and going to Alabama, and going from the number two chair here to the number one chair there, um, the knowledge and experience that I have now is just 100x versus, if I'd stayed here and kind of, I won't say kept the trains on the track and kept, doing what we're doing, because we do a lot of great things here, but it's different when the buck stops with you. So very, very, very fortunate, very happy, and very excited about our future here.
Well, what's it like? You're in a unique section, I guess, in that you include South Carolina has their own association, but you also have membership in South Carolina, and
Right.
you're in a prime golf area. Maybe the biggest. I mean, in the country. I mean, is this kind of like the prime job if you're going to work for a state golf association, the
It,
Carolinas Golf Association?
In my opinion, yes. Nothing against my colleagues
Yeah.
at all the other allied golf associations in the country.
Are you the
Uh,
largest one,
we
Andy?
we're so Florida State Golf Association is actually the largest, and by quite a margin. They're about 350,000 members. So really, kind of 2 through 4 is you can interchange Carolinas, Southern Cal, and Northern California. So
Okay.
really, the three of us kind of are in that 220,000 member
Okay.
range right now. So any given day, one might be two, one might be three, but we're all kind of similarly. So we're top four, depending on the day.
And when you talk about membership, you talk anybody who is a member of a club that is a member of the CGA. Is that correct?
Right. If you have a USGA handicap index in the Carolinas, you're a member of the Carolinas Golf Association. And you mentioned South Carolina, so it's we have a tri-association partnership in South Carolina with us, South Carolina Golf Association, and the Women's South Carolina Golf Association. So, really, we're the umbrella organization as far as the work with the USGA goes, but we partner with SCGA and WSCGA to deliver those core services from the USGA to South Carolina. So you're well covered down in South Carolina with golf administration and opportunities.
Now, yeah, not only that, but they have their own slate of events. So if you live in South Carolina, you can play in CGA events, you can play in South Carolina Golf Association events. It's a pretty good place to live if you want to just play.
It is. We I think collectively uh we're probably pushing 500 events
Hmm.
a year between the three organizations. We're on tap for 360 this year, just us here. And I say if you got a heartbeat and a set of golf clubs, we got something for you to play in.
Well, yeah, I used to talk with Jack about this all the time, but I always think it's great the 1 day events you guys have. If you're a member of the Carolinas Golf Association, you can play at a number of golf courses. You have events all over the place. And one other thing I wanted to mention was that even if you're not a member of a club that's a CGA member, you can join. You can be a member of an E club, which
Hmm.
will entitle you to have your handicap capped, and you can play in events as well. So that's something I don't know if everybody knows about.
Yeah, I mean that's you know the CGA was formed in 1909. The Carolinas Amateur Championship was how we got started as an organization. But if you even go back to the 1920s, the 1 day program dates all the way back to then, and the premise is pretty simple: allow CGA members to play at other CGA member clubs for a nominal fee. And so that the 1 day program for us is 100 years old.
Hmm.
So it's not a new concept. It's in the fabric of who we are as an organization. And certainly over time, it has developed into ladies play days and a senior 4 ball 1 day program and 1 day 4 balls and junior taiga 1 day tournaments. So we have a lot more going on than just the standard, if you will, gross net 1 day tournaments. So yeah, it's a huge program for us. It is open to all members, and like I said, John, if you're not a member to CGA, there's kind of a couple different funnels into us for membership. You can go to our website and join one of our e-clubs, which is based upon your geography of where you live in North or South Carolina. You'll get placed appropriately into one of those geographic clubs, or you can go to the USGA website and put in your zip code, and it'll pull up the Carolinas Golf Association as your allied golf association. You can join the what we call the USGA dash Carolinas Golf Association Golf Club through them. You're going to end up with us either way. whichever funnel you go into, you'll still be a CGA member. It's just a matter of which website you want to start your journey through.
And there's a lot of good places to play, and including a lot of private clubs that you'd otherwise have no access to. So it's a good idea for people who want to play around different places to look into those 1 days, and those are on your website and carolinasgolf.org.
Hmm.
So yeah, and I also wanted to ask you real quick. So we've got coming up in about 2 months. I take it that you're probably going to be here, at least for the trophy presentation. We're gonna have the state amateur at the Cardinal. Uh, is that, and that's always a fun tournament. Um, Tell us a little bit about the Cardinal event at the Cardinal.
Yeah, I mean the North Carolina Amateur Championship. Obviously it's the you know top top male golfers in the state. It is a USGA exemption event. So the winner of the North Carolina Amateur will earn an exemption into the U.S. Amateur.
Yeah,
It'll be at the Olympic Club this year. So that's just one of many exemption events that we have, not only for men but also on the women's side, and then down to our juniors, junior boys, and junior girls as well. That we now have direct pathways for our champions into the respective national championships. But the Cardinal, look, I think everybody knows the reputation. If you never played the Cardinal, you've probably heard about the difficulty of the Cardinal. I think is it the 12th hole, the par three. If the monument is still there, and I think Pete Dye said this is the hardest par three he's ever designed.
yeah,
It is definitely you got one place to miss it, and that is short. Otherwise, you're in the
short right,
water.
not short
And
left. But yeah,
yeah, so
yeah,
the card it's going to be a great test of golf. Um, so we're thrilled to get back over there, and our friends at McConnell Golf are huge supporters of ours and friends, and so we know they're going to put their best foot forward and hosting the championship, and we'll have a new champion this year since our two-time champions now playing professional golf. So there'll be somebody else can finally hold the trophy this year.
now the rest of the year, I know you're going to be at the Carolinas Amateur, which is 111 years now.
I
That's
know
that's crazy. Pinehurst
it
number
is.
7, which is a course that I played when it opened about, gosh, it's been almost 40 years ago, but I haven't played it since. It was the un-Pinehurst course when it opened. I remember it was penal. It wasn't a Donald Ross course by any means. I think it was Rich
Hmm.
Jones did it, and
Right.
it was known as in those days as kind of a different kind of golf course for Pinehurst. Is it still like that?
Yeah. I mean, number seven. Uh, there's a lot of uphill shots
Hmm.
there, so it plays longer than the yardage. So we'll certainly, play it back as much as we can. We do mix up par threes and all that good stuff. So the yardage itself may be a little misleading because there's a fair number of uphill shots, and yeah, if you go to the main resort courses 1 through 5, and you kind of see what they've done with the natural areas, and number seven is still probably a little more kind of traditional parkland,
Hmm.
design. So it's not an easy golf course either, and it'll certainly be a good test for the Carolinas Amateur this year, and we can't thank our friends at Pinehurst enough for hosting us, and they are insanely busy over there now, and to dedicate 5 days to us with the practice round to host a championship in the middle of the summer is our we can't thank them enough for 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 hosting us, and it's a home game for us on staff
Yeah.
too. It's kind of the home games are always kind of nice that everybody can sleep in their own bed, and um, you know after a long day, there's not like going to getting your in bed versus a hotel. So that's another nice part of being at number seven this year.
And another home game for the Mid-Am, which is in September at Southern Pines, which, if people haven't checked out, I know we've written about it, but got a tremendous renovation a couple of years back, and has become, I think, a lot of people rank it right with Pine Needles and Mid Pines on that Ross Resorts family. Just it fits in very well. A very good golf course for the Mid-Am in September.
Yeah, so it depends on who you talk to. Between the three, we're here at Pine Needles. This is where Carolina's Golf House is. But depending on who you talk to, somebody may say Pine Needles is their favorite. Some people may say Mid Pines is their favorite, and some people will say Southern Pines. is their favorite, but you can't go wrong with any of them. Let's put it that way. And Kelly Miller and team, certainly trying to be great stewards of those three. Um, Ross Classics, and especially the renovation work that they did at Southern Pines to turn it into what it is. And there's I think a lot of bright future ahead for all three facilities. And we know that's going to be a popular one for our mid-am players come September.
I saw something today on the website, and maybe it's a few days old, but wanted to mention it, that the U.S. Mid-Am is going to come to Country Club of Charleston. It was announced. It was on your website, I think I saw. I love to talk about the Country Club of Charleston, Andy, because I played there one time 25 years ago, and I made par from the bunker on the infamous par 3. I think it's number 11.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm never going to play there again because I made par from the bunker, but it's maybe the craziest par 3 I've ever played. I don't know if they've widened the green in the last few years or they've done anything, but it's this tiny little green, diagonal green with bunkers on both sides. And I used to hear, and I don't know if they still do that, I used to hear that players in tournaments would sometimes lay up.
Right.
So they hit a chip shot on it intentionally. Is that still the way it is?
That is very true. I think Frank Ford III can probably tell you a lot better than I can. The Zay Invitational, that they get the greens going pretty quick. That depending on the hole location, you might be best to lay up short because it's got a false front.
Yeah.
That is mowed to green height, and it is. And you drive in as you're pulling into the parking lot, you can look over to the right and you see the hole, and you're like, my goodness, what, the first time you're there and you see that, and you're like, what am I in for today? Yeah. And kudos to you for getting up and down out of a bunker.
Like I said, it's enough of an accomplishment for me that I don't care if I ever play there again. I don't know if I want to, because there's no way I can do it again.
You can make X. Play. You can go bunker to bunker to bunker all day long on that hole.
Well, I credit it with just having no expectation, just going, what the heck? I'm gonna just swing, and you get lucky. But yeah, I saw that, and that's an interesting. I don't know if do people consider that the oldest course in America, or it's one of the few, I think. That's
yeah. I guess golf goes back to Charleston into the 1700s, and the club itself, certainly one of the older ones in the Carolinas. But yeah, that's going to be in 2028 between Country Club of Charleston as the host site and Yeamans Hall as the companion course. It's going to be, the U.S. Mid-Am already is, one of the most popular events.
Yeah.
To try and get into, and 2028 is really going to be no different. You look at where the U.S. Mid-Am is played every year, and then now you put in two just golden age of architecture classic. Even though Country Club of Charleston's about to be renovated very soon, that it'll be ready for the 28 Mid-Am. But for those who've never been over to Yeamans Hall, it's like stepping back in time. And Seth Rayner and it's drive down the dirt road back into the clubhouse, and you drive in the middle of the golf course, and it's just an amazing experience. And the USGA, kudos to them for getting Charleston and Yeamans Hall on board. And 2028 is going to be a busy year for championships in the Carolinas, because we got not only the U.S. Mid-Am, we've got the U.S. Women's Mid-Am in Charlotte, and then we also got the U.S. Senior Am at Biltmore Forest that year as well. So we're kind of lining up. You may be asking me about future USGA championships, but we got quite the run coming up here the next 5 or so years.
It's too bad that Pinehurst number 2 couldn't be in the rotation that year for the U.S. Open.
Well, the U.S. Women's Amateur is going to be at number 2 in 2027.
Right.
Coming up. And then we got the back-to-back opens in 2029.
Hmm.
as well for the Open and the Women's Open. We still don't know which is going to be played first or second. We're still waiting to hear from the USGA on that game plan. But yeah, we have a PGA Championship in the
Yeah.
Carolinas this year as
Yeah.
well in Charlotte. It kind of gets overlooked here in about 5 weeks at Quail Hollow. We got the second major of the year being played right here in our backyard. So it kind of I don't know. It sort of feels like it's I won't say forgotten. I think that's the wrong way to put it. But we've done some promotional work with our friends at the PGA and at Quail Hollow. It's going to be an amazing. They're doing a phenomenal job hosting major events at Quail, and so hopefully, if you haven't gotten your tickets, I'm not sure how many are still left to go to the PGA Championship. But if you do get a chance to go, it's all inclusive this year, apparently, other than like non-alcoholic beverages. But your food and non-alcoholic beverages are included in your ticket this year,
Wow.
which is a different kind of a
Yeah.
different deal for folks. So keep that in mind when you see this when you see the ticket prices. Know that there's more to it than just getting in the gate.
Maybe there'll be more room in the grandstands and around the ropes. People in the food lines, and constantly in the food lines. I don't know. It is interesting. I know some baseball teams have done that type of
Hmm.
ticket, and we'll see
Yeah,
how it works.
yeah, it would be, and I think that's the whole point of it is to service quick. Like you can come in, pick an entree, pick a side, get a drink, and off you go. And it's not you having to stand in line and wait and make a decision, pay, do all that, and just backs the queue up. So I think there's a lot of thought, and there'll be a lot of opportunities kind of throughout the the footprint of the golf course to be able to take advantage of that.
So do you also get to go to Oakmont? Are you going to be there, Andy, for the U.S. Open this year?
No, not this year. That's a busy week for us. I think we have four championships
Hmm.
that just that week. We have our North Carolina Amateur, our South Carolina Match Play. I believe our North Carolina Junior Girls is that week, and I believe we have another we have another championship in there too. So that's a tough week for me to sneak away to get to the Open. But I
Yeah.
know Oakmont. I went up there for the U.S. Amateur a few
Uh-huh.
years ago, and it is what a special place
Yeah.
Oakmont is, and it's
Yeah.
it is a beast of a golf course, and they have to slow. They seriously do slow the greens down when they have the U.S. Open there from everyday play.
Well, I think one of the reasons might be now maybe the USGA sets it up, but I know like the 10th hole there is supposed to be a par five, and they turn it into a par four, and all of a sudden you've got a 500 something yard par four. I guess they can't keep the greens. Well, I don't know. That's an exception probably, but yeah, very tough golf course, and I
Hmm.
always remember it for the year that I went when OJ was running around in a Bronco, and the Rangers were winning the Stanley Cup, and it was 100 degrees and players were like having heat exhaustion out there. That was like 31 years ago, I guess, but it was a hard golf course, very hard golf course. Tell me if you would, what, in our final minutes, anything you said before, you were talking about just keeping the train on the track, being like a way you could do it. Is there anything new or different that you kind of see that, for the CGA under your leadership?
Yeah, John, really, we are taking this year to sort of take a step back on a lot of things internal here. We're embarking on a strategic plan to set us up for the next 3 to 5 years as an organization. And we know, on the tournament side, we we do great stuff there, but we're looking certainly more holistic across the organization about the other things that we sort of dabble in, but we're not totally committed to yet. Our foundation is one of those. We do a lot of great work there, but we feel like we can do a lot more. So we're looking at that. We're doing some restructuring internally here on the staff. We're hiring some new positions as well to be more focused and intentional on certain areas that we do, and just really modernizing us as an organization, and because golf has evolved, and we've got to keep evolving with it, and we know that our role as a membership organization, we got to understand that you know what our membership is seeking from us and what they're looking for. And so all the members are gonna we're gonna be surveying you. So be on the lookout here in the coming weeks. We hope that you'll take the 10 or 12 minutes to provide us with your honest and candid feedback, because that is really going to help us understand what we can do better as an organization and how we can service you know, the really, you know, we know the future for us and growth is in the public sector. The demographics, we're obviously heavy into junior golf, women's golf. So we're gonna spend a lot of time and dedication into, expanding, just not tournaments, really just creating more of the funnel, as we call it. We want to get as many golfers, really at the end of the day, our job is to create golfers for life. And it's awesome if you get to be your ability gets to where you feel comfortable and playing in a competition outside of your home club or something like that, then we're here for you for that. But really, we want to create golfers for life, give them that experience and show them what golf can do for you, from a health wellness standpoint, from a community social aspect. It's unlike anything else out there as far as activities go, and we want to keep driving that message forward. And we're just fortunate that we get to be a part of this great game, and you know and see what we can do to keep growing, just golf in general, because we're in a great position right now. Obviously since COVID, even before COVID, we were already trending in a positive direction. But certainly COVID gave us the booster rocket behind it to accelerate where things are. And we want to keep our foot on the gas, I guess the best way to put it, and keep giving access and opportunities to, no matter who you are and no matter what background you are, no matter where you live, that you have the opportunity to get engaged in the game at some level. And that's really what you're going to start seeing, probably more focus from us into that space, more so than you know new competitions. It's like, I mean, we're running 360 events this year. How many? I'm not sure how many more. Is 10 more tournaments really going to help us? I don't know, but really we want to be, get those strategic partnerships with different groups that are doing already some amazing work, especially in the adaptive golf space. Um, there's just so many things that we want to do and we're going to do, and that's kind of where we're going to take this year with me coming back in, strategic plan, kind of a reset, refocus on who we are. And like I said, the feedback from our membership and all the key stakeholders in the game in the Carolinas and beyond is really going to help us shape the future, at least for the next few years, of us as an organization. And we'll stay nimble if things change and we need to pivot from some of those things. But we understand we have a you know quite a job here to do, and there's a lot of opportunity, and that's what's so exciting about it. That we want to be a leader nationally on all things that we do. And we're in a, like you said earlier, John, we're in the cradle of American golf here, and not just here locally in Pinehurst for us or Southern Pines, but you look at all the, people are flocking to move to the Carolinas, whether it's not just here, but our coastal areas in Charleston and Hilton Head, and Myrtle Beach and the Outer Banks and Wilmington. And you go to the mountains, and the Aiken area is exploding as well for golf now. And Obviously, our thoughts are still with, all the folks up in Western North Carolina and in the hills of South Carolina too that are still, recovering from Helene. And, like we said, I was in Augusta last week and, got a chance to talk to, a lot of the staff at Augusta, how it impacted them. There's some we're still rebuilding and, so it's not over. And I think people need to keep that in mind that, even though the storylines have turned to other things going on, but please keep the folks in North Carolina. There's a lot of great things going on up there to help recover, and we know we're trying to do our part as well on the back end.
Well, it's good to have you back, Andy. I appreciate you taking the time, and I hope you enjoy the Masters like I am. I
Yeah.
know I'm really looking forward to it, and I appreciate you taking the time again. And good luck at the Carolinas Golf Association.
Yeah. Thank you, John. Appreciate all that you do for us. Really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it, the coverage.